Ladies and gentlemen, there are two things you can't do if you want a functioning society and country. Number one, you can't investigate an incoming presidential candidate based on the quote-unquote evidence obtained by his direct political rivals and the outgoing administration. That's what took place with Trump. Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all of these people utilized the dossier purchased by Clinton and hearsay and gossip from Alexander Downer in a meeting with George Papadopoulos, where exculpatory evidence, by the way, a recording of him exonerated of stating anything criminal, was withheld from the courts. But you can't investigate an incoming president based on gossip, hearsay, or absurd fabricated documents and have them funneled into the United States government through the efforts of operatives and attorneys and people working for the Democratic Party. Can't do that. Can't do that. Okay, then complain when Trump is suspicious and says things you don't like, okay, when he loses. So you can't say that Trump was installed by the Kremlin when you have absolutely no evidence, and you never did, and you investigated for years, found nothing. Nobody was ever indicted or charged with conspiring alongside an official of any country or an intelligence operative of any country. That being said, if the tables were reversed, they would never allow Rudy Giuliani to obtain a document that accused Mashed Potato Brains Joe or Hillary or Bill or anyone, Hunter, of being in a Moscow hotel room and enjoying a certain type of activity. They would never allow that in a million years, but of course, against Trump, they allowed that because there's a double standard. The standard of suspicion and the standard of judgment towards Trump is completely different than towards Democrats. You can't be suspicious of Democrats. You need absolute categorical proof. If money and millions of dollars flow into a foundation, or emails show that business deals are made with promises, and there are emails with business associates asking Hunter, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? And then a recording of him saying that his father focuses on any issues important to him. That's the Washington Examiner came out with that. Now, if the roles were reversed, of course, that would never fly with Trump or Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Kushner or anybody associated with Trump Republicans. You can't do that, and you also can't wage a battle against fossil fuels, say we're going to do away with fossil fuels and transform the economy from fossil fuels to renewables, and expect the price of fossil fuels to go down. And you can't. So if Mashed Potato Brains Joe comes into the Oval Office saying we're going to transform the economy and save the planet and address climate change and we're going to do these things, don't complain when prices skyrocket. Especially when oil and gas companies, oil and gas associations, and 14 states sued this administration. The National Association of Manufacturers, the Business Roundtable, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, all opposed Build Back Better. The links are below in the description. And there is a shortage, and we're going to talk about that right now. And one of my amazing subscribers emailed me, and my email address, my new email address is contactgoodman88@gmail.com. And it's on, each one of my segments. Subscribe here, H.A. Goodman. Subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel, and subscribe to the Bitcoin Crash to 10,000 or lower channel. I started that channel when Bitcoin was at 30,000, and I predicted the downturn, the crash in the market, and the economic decline in September of 2021. Go to the description section. You will see the segments where I predict all of this. And definitely, if you want to email me, it's contactgoodman88. Used to be 78, but now it's 88@gmail.com. But subscribe to those channels, watch the playlist, and I was published in the Federalist in October of 2021, predicting everything. When you're talking to friends or family or anyone about the stock market or about the economy, let them know that H.A. Goodman on YouTube predicted all of this. If you're on social media, you're talking about the economy, whatever. I don't have Twitter, I don't have Facebook, I have my 3 channels. But let people know, hey, you know what? Right in the description section of H.A. Goodman's channels or segments, he predicts exactly what's taking place and explains why one political party caused all of this. But one of my amazing subscribers, because I've been talking a lot about diesel fuel, and how that's going to lead to a recession, possibly even a depression. Diesel exhaust fluid is a huge issue. We have a shortage of that. And diesel trucks, here, DEF is an acronym for diesel exhaust fluid. Every diesel truck that has been made since 2010 is required to use it. This is an article This is an article from the National Review. Very interesting. I'll get to that in a second. But one of my amazing subscribers said, "HA, you know what? Talk about diesel exhaust fluid. It's going to lead to, big problems in trucking." And he's 100% right. It's actually the cost of diesel. And again, like I explained in the Stock Market Crash channel how mashed potato brain Joe's policies and Democrats caused all of this. They don't own up to anything. You can't accuse oil companies of price gouging when you have literally told the entire industry you want to phase it out and move to renewables when you don't have the technology to do so, and when you shut down economic activity. Okay, 2 years earlier, and when you refused to impose, when you removed sanctions from Nord Stream 2 and forgot that oil and gas were geopolitical tools. I mean, every conceivable way they managed to mess up, they did. And every conceivable way that a president could make things worse in terms of the economy, this president has done. But at least Trump isn't tweeting, because that's like the minds of morally superior, wonderful, highly educated, almost always apoplectic Democrats are focused on his tweets. That's it. But the economy and foreign policy was infinitely better under Trump. Fact. Like, you can't even debate this. But there's not even a sensible debate to say that life is better now in terms of the economy than under Trump. And the last year of his presidency, that was all Democrats pushing to end economic activity, which they were successful in doing because the bureaucrats and experts and wonderful adults in the room said we need to do that. Now there are oil industry experts that have explained we're heading into a very, very bad situation if the policies of Democrats aren't reversed. But finally, I'll get to the point, and we'll continue with the recession and possible depression ahead, and we'll talk about the diesel exhaust fluid shortage, and we'll talk about how there's going to be a prolonged recession. But 7-8 minutes in, just tell people that 8 minutes in, I finally get to the point. The point is that we're heading into a recession that's going to give the political will to Trump Republicans, who will sweep the House and Senate, to continue not only the parallel investigations alongside the Durham probe, but it'll give the Durham probe the political will and media support it needs to achieve, to indict even more people. Now, the interesting thing is that if he plays small ball, if he just goes for the bunt and then steals the base and then tries to advance the run into third and, doesn't go for the home run, I don't think John Durham's going to do very well. He needs to go for the home run. 18 U.S. Code 371. He will indict and convict people. Rome wasn't built in a day, but this is an actual special counsel. So 8 minutes in, I explain. The political will come eventually in November. November is going to be a turning point in American history and American politics. The Democratic Party is on the ropes. If they don't have Jimmy Kimmel, every conceivable of Stephen Colbert, who, by the way, like I did a whole bunch of his 7 producers and staffers were arrested, and we already know what's going on. There's a criminal investigation ongoing, and apparently they were banging on doors of Lauren Boebert, Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy. These are the same people who pontificate against Trump supporters who were arrested for trespassing. The difference is that these are wonderful Hollywood liberal celebrities or producers or staffers, and media won't touch that. Media won't really, harp or pontificate or judge or condemn. But The hypocrisy is unbelievable. Yes, it's not 100% analogous, of course. I condemn what took place in January 2 years ago, but I also condemn what the Colbert staffers were doing. What are you doing? Like banging on doors, apparently, allegedly, of Lauren Boebert or McCarthy or Jim Jordan, and you're at the Capitol without any supervision, and you don't have credentials, and you're hours and hours without any supervision at all, and trespassing, unlawful entry, and you spend the night in jail, and that's okay. But Trump should be indicted for organizing a widespread plot to overthrow democracy. But that's not overthrowing. That has nothing to do with disrespecting a revered and sacred building. Just because you're the insult comic dog and you're Stephen Colbert's show, that's okay. Sorry. If people are in prison right now for trespassing, it'll be interesting to see what the Justice Department does with these 7 staffers. Do I think that they were up to something diabolical? No, of course not. The Colbert staffers were not up to something insidious, I'm sure. Who knows? But they could be linked. Any of them could know the organizations that are right now being investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That are trying to intimidate conservative Supreme Court justices. Who knows? Was it a reconnaissance mission like they accused Congressman Loudermilk of? Cheney and Kinzinger and Adam Schiff, who, by the way, was along with two other Democratic Congresspeople, allowed these 7 Colbert staffers into the building. Anyway, the whole point, I can go on forever. The whole point is the hypocrisy is unbelievable. Okay, it's just unbelievable. But I mean, you have people in prison now for trespassing, and it's doubtful that these. Well, who knows? But it's doubtful that these Colbert staffers will get prison time for what they did. Anyway, the point is, I want to read you this, and we're heading into. You tell me how after the second consecutive quarter of negative economic growth, you tell me how we're going to get a positive growth in the third quarter. If John Kerry is saying, no, you can't build any more oil refineries, and the Chevron CEO is like, yeah, we can't build any more oil refineries. Democrats want to do away with fossil fuels. And geopolitical problems are getting worse, not better, worse. Okay, this administration has done nothing in terms of diplomacy aside from just trying their best to prolong hostilities and conflict. But if things are going to get worse or the same, and if they stay the same, they're only going to get worse in terms of geopolitics. Okay, the Baltic states in Europe, that could be the start of, God forbid, a catastrophe. But you have a recession. We're in a recession right now. 2 quarters of negative growth. Okay. Tell me how the third quarter is going to be positive. And I want to read you this. Diesel fuel. If you've lasted this long, I'm all over the place like I usually am. But diesel fuel. Unless the nation's truckers can refill with diesel exhaust fluid, the trucks will stop. Literally. Diesel exhaust fluid production and imports are about to crater, and the country's largest truck fueling company, Flying J, has been directed by Union Pacific Railroad to decrease its diesel exhaust fluid receiving shipments by 50% or by 100%. Okay. 100% embargoed. Unless resolved, this demand may cause countless thousands of 18-wheelers to be force parked very soon, perhaps starting this month. That would be a very, very terrible event because according to the Federal Bureau of Transportation Statistics, the trucking industry transports almost 3/4 of all goods shipped in the country. Union Pacific's 2 largest shareholders are Vanguard and BlackRock. There is no wand to be waved to make diesel exhaust fluid shortage simply disappear. But doing nothing is both reprehensible and indefensible. There's no one better positioned to bring this looming catastrophe to the front burner than two men and two women. Okay, no. So this is an article written by, I believe, Glenn Reynolds, and it's linked from Get Ready for the Catastrophic Diesel Exhaust Fluid Shortage, written June 14th. And basically, trucks, diesel engines made after 2010 need diesel exhaust fluid, and we're going to have a shortage of that. That's in addition to diesel being at close to $6 a gallon nationally. Okay, that's in addition to oil prices going up. I mean, they went down because of recession fears, but they'll go back up again. They're still well over $100. They're going to get back up to 120 to 130. They're at what, 113 now or 109? So they go up and down, but it's still, if it's well over $100, and you have inflation still at 8 to 9%. Inflation went up. Consumer sentiment is at a record low. And you have GDP, the Atlanta GDP now estimate in the Fed, that is at what, 0% now? So it'll be 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. Inflation at 8 to 9%. We have diesel at record highs, but a diesel exhaust fluid shortage. And which is a bit different from diesel, regular diesel. And so you have a big problem on the horizon. How does that tie into the Durham Pro Special Counsel? Okay, that's like the recession, the change in the House and the Senate, the possible catastrophe in terms of transportation and I mean, diesel fuel, the diesel exhaust fluid is, very important for trucks made after 2010, which is, either most or, a great percentage of the trucks transporting goods throughout the country. But you have to ask yourself, is it going to get better economically? Yes or no? Yes or no, is it going to get better economically in the third quarter? It's not. It's not. And is there going to be a political will to basically ensure that what happened to Trump never happens again in terms of him getting set up and framed? Because he was. They would never allow a dossier to be used against them. And so the Durham Pro Special Counsel didn't get the conviction, but he got testimony from Robbie Mook and Mark Elias and agents. So the testimony will lead to future indictments. The indictments will increase. There will be a relationship between, unfortunately, how bad the economy gets. The worse the economy gets, the more the Durham Pro Special Counsel will be important to the Republican Party and to the country. Not just Trump Republicans, but to the country. We got to this because we shut down economic activity, and then before that, we set up and framed an incoming president. And mainly, we want to do away with fossil fuels before an actual viable alternative in terms of renewable energy. Give me your thoughts below. What do you think about my thought process? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Huge issue with diesel exhaust fluid. And you might say, well, how on earth did you tie that in with the Durham probe? They're all correlated. The same people who said Trump was installed by the Kremlin are also the same people who want to do away with fossil fuels and are complaining about high energy prices. Give me your thoughts, and complaining about Trump not agreeing with them. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, the Stock Market Crash channel, and the Bitcoin Crash to 10,000 or lower channel. I called everything on those channels, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.